Hello there, you beautiful people! My name is Willow, and welcome to another Fallout 4 challenge run. My last run as a sniper was fun, so today we're gonna take on something brutal while we find out if I can beat Fallout 4's survival difficulty with only grenades. Before we get into the run, let's lay down some ground rules. I can only use weapons bound to the Alt key. This includes grenades, mines, and traps. I must play the entire game on the survival difficulty. I can't use any bugs or glitches on purpose to exploit the game. I can only use visual mods, which will be shown on screen, and I cannot use console commands for anything but fixing bugs. With the rules of the run laid out, let's take a look at the challenge itself. I think I'm going to be struggling from start to finish in this run, as I usually forget that grenades even exist, and I'm sure I'll blow myself up a few times while using them. I also expect to run into a lot of roadblocks, but I'm pumped to take on this challenge. I write this script as I go, and all of this part has been written prior to beginning the run. If you want to skip past my starting thoughts and get right into the gameplay, skip to the time code on screen now. With them gone, let's blow up this run, starting with the weapons available to us. I'm allowed to use any weapon that is bound to the Alt key. This includes all the grenades, mines, and traps in the game. Grenades are going to be my main weapon of the run, so let's take a look at them. I have a wide range of grenades available to me, and the highlights of those are going to be the Molotov cocktail, fragmentation, and plasma grenades, along with the synth relay grenade. There are others, like the various Nuka grenades, but they aren't as easy to obtain, so I'm not going to focus on them. Starting with the Molotov, let's look at each of these, and the Molotov is going to be our pipe weapon of this run. They aren't hard to find, and I'm going to be able to craft a lot of them in theory. These will be a mainstay throughout the run, but are particularly critical to the early game. With the Molotov covered, let's move on to the fragmentation grenade, which is really going to be my best option for the mid to late game, as I believe I'll be able to craft it consistently once I have enough settlements and levels. It does triple the damage of the Molotov, so it's a huge upgrade. Overall, I expect this to be our bread and butter weapon throughout the run. Following that is the plasma grenade. I don't expect to get very many of these, but they will be very important for dealing with bosses and big enemies, as they deal double the damage of frag grenades. Lastly, there's the synth relay grenade, which I think is by far the most useful to me in this run. I plan to be stocking up caps so I can buy a ton of these and use them anytime I'm dealing with large groups. The ability to spawn allies sounds really strong in a run where my damage is indirect. But that's enough talking about weapons. Let's take a look at the perks of the run. Yeah, there's only one that truly matters to me, and it's Demolitions Expert. Not only does it increase the damage of every weapon I'm going to be using in this run, it also gives me a throwing indicator so I don't have to throw blind. One last thing, I'm banning power armor and the sneak perk because I'm a masochist apparently. With all of that out of the way, go down below and leave a comment letting me know if you think I can beat this run, and subscribe to the channel for more runs like this. Jumping right into the gameplay, I start the game in my pre-war bathroom where I create a stunning grenadier before staring out the window of my living room waiting for something horrible to happen. As I'm waiting, the doorbell rings and I answer to find the Mark Zuckerberg of the Fallout universe. I don't bother resisting and just give him all of my personal information, including my name and special stats, which are 1 in strength because who needs it, 4 in perception so I can get the Demolitions Expert perk with the perception bobblehead, 7 in endurance for adamantium skeleton and general survivability, 8 in charisma because I'm going to need to trade a lot in this run, 5 in intelligence for experience gains, 1 in agility because I don't need it, and 2 in luck for the looting perks. I then head off to check on my spawn, who is crying because a massive robot just changed his diaper. I spin the mobile and then head out of my living room to find the news anchor freaking out about some firecrackers. I then run down the street and up the hill to Grandma's vault platform, where I see a cherry bomb go off in the distance before riding an elevator down to the entrance of Vault 111. I hop into a cozy New York apartment and take a 200-year nap, and at some point I end up being woken up to watch my wife get absolutely blasted by Kellogg before going back to sleep. After a while, I wake up again, and after collapsing onto the ground, I pick myself up and spend a while running away from bugs and trapping them in various rooms before picking up the Pip-Boy and plugging it in to the door controls. I then try and get killed by the vault door, but it doesn't work, so I have to continue the challenge by riding the elevator up to the surface. Once in the Commonwealth wasteland, I make my way to Sanctuary, where I talk with Codsworth and let him get me a snack. While he does so, I go grab the Your Special book, putting a point in intelligence for the science perk, before grabbing my snack from Codsworth and telling him we'll search the neighborhood together. I then go on a scrapping spree while watching him kill all of the bloat flies. After he clears out the flies, I grab some frag grenades out of a mailbox before moving the chemistry and cooking stations to the other workbenches in Sanctuary. After that, I set up some water purifiers so I can get a store of purified water for trading, and then craft a couple of Molotovs before baiting all of the rad roaches in Sanctuary to Codsworth so he can kill them for me. I'm already very aware of how difficult keeping a stockpile of grenades will be, so I'm going to have to focus on avoiding fights and letting NPCs do fighting for me. Also, since I'm sure a lot of you skipped my pre-run thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that this run allows me to use any weapon that is bound to the Alt key on PC. This includes grenades, mines, and traps like the caltrops and bear traps. With that covered, I make my way to the Red Rocket truck stop where I meet a cute doggo and get stranded helplessly on this big rig for a while before dog meat kills off all the mole rats. I then do some crafting before making my way back towards Concord where I wait for Preston to kill off all the raiders outside. This takes a while, but I spend the time doing some looting in the houses before finding one of the raiders got stuck, which is pretty funny. I then make my way inside the Museum of Freedom, but I only have 5 grenades and some caltrops, so it's going to be hard to clear this place, but I hope I'm able to. I start off by making my way through the back rooms of the museum and nearly die because I had caltrops and not a grenade equipped, but I managed to switch to a Molotov in time to kill this raider before hacking the terminal and grabbing the fusion core and running up the stairs to die. Yep, it's gonna be one of those days. I go at the Museum of Freedom so many times. I die over and over, and when I don't die, I run into bugs that break my game, such as one that made me permanently detected so I couldn't craft anymore. I even end up falling to my death off the vertibird on the museum's roof. Eventually though, I managed to get this attempt where I throw enough grenades to kill all of the raiders inside. I even have a couple of hilarious livestream moments as I kill off the last few raiders, so here they are. What you gonna do? I broke your legs! Oh, look at you! Come on, dude, get back up. You're good. I have suffered. Now it's your turn, little leg boy. Listen, dude. If you're not gonna stand up, I'm gonna go. Okay, come on, come on. Oh, that was so good. That was amazing. I got a oh, another Molotov. Dude, I am killing it. If you want more livestream moments like these, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when I go live here on this channel. Also, if you become a member, you can watch all of the livestream VODs. With the museum cleared, I speak with Preston and grab the perception bobblehead before heading outside where I let the Deathclaw kill all of the raiders and then wait 15 minutes for Preston to kill the Deathclaw. Afterwards, I talk to him and he gives me some caps and fusion cells before heading off towards Sanctuary. I then head south to trade with Trashcan Carla to get some more Molotovs before forcing a drug dealer to give me all of his caps and convincing a shopkeeper to pay him so he can give me even more caps. This was quite fortunate as it gave me a nice little seed of cash to trade with Trudy for more Molotovs. I then head further south to Grey Garden as I want to harvest all of the plants here as I need corn, potatoes, and mut fruit to craft vegetable starch. Overall, I expect to be doing a lot of crafting and trading, so this should set us up for adhesive crafting. I return to Sanctuary and set up some farms before speaking with Preston, who tells me of a settlement that needs my help. I then ignore his request and make my way south until I reach Cambridge Police Station, where I watch Dance kill a ton of ghouls before speaking with him. He asks me to come with him to ArcJet Systems in order to get some gizmo for his walkie-talkie. I tell him I'll do it, and we set off. I walk slightly behind Dance on the way to the Old World Rocket Research Facility, and he kills off a bunch of vermin, which I then loot for personal gain. Afterwards, we reach our destination together and start trekking through the decrepit building. This section is mostly just me watching Dance kill a ton of synths and turrets. It's nice to loot all the dead synths, since they give me much needed sellable items, but it's kind of boring. Eventually, we reach the rocket testing room, and I decide to take a risk and jump up to the room with the Fat Man, and that was a mistake. I end up dying to 2 synths that spawn in this room, and this is the start of a calamitous chain of events. I run from Sanctuary all the way back to Cambridge to go through everything I just did again. This time, I don't die in the Fat Man room as I loot it and run away before watching a synth jump down to his doom in a funny fashion. I then make my way to the generator room where I turn on a rocket engine above Dance, and after deep frying the Metal Man, I make my way up to the control room where Dance kills off all of the other synths and we complete the dungeon. For the first time at least. After leaving the dungeon, well, this happens. Oh, shit. No, 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 no. No, help, help, help! Help, you idiots! No! 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 You cannot! No!
Emotional, damn it!
Fuck! Fuck! What? They never attack like that! If you enjoyed that little slice of suffering, make sure to like and subscribe. Where were we? Oh right, I went through ArcJet for the last time, and I get a beautiful grenade on this pack of radstags, which I'm very proud of, so here it is, and then I make my way to the diner to trade. I'm still carrying a lot of loot after trading, so I decide to make my way towards Diamond City, where I can find some more merchants. Along the way to Diamond City, I help some security guards fight some super mutants and loot them before punching Piper to skip the dialogue so I can head inside, where I do a ton of trading, which gets me a good stockpile of grenades and mines, which I plan to use to take Hangman's Alley. So I head over there to employ a really clever tactic for dealing with the raiders occupying the settlement. I start by lockpicking the back door to the settlement and start laying mines until I'm detected. Once the raiders start attacking, I run out of the settlement and wait. The raiders run right into my trap and die to the mines. I rinse and repeat the process a few times until the settlement goes quiet and I can claim the workshop for myself. I do some more trading and set up the settlement, but that's boring, so the next thing we do is head over to Park Street Station to save Nick Valentine. This dungeon was incredibly fun, but I'm still struggling as I die a couple of times. Instead of describing the combat, I decided to throw together a little montage for you all right here, so enjoy.
Because they weren't planning to use it, you moron. Because they weren't planning to use it.
In the end, I end up killing all of the Triggermen inside the vault and then pass a speech check with Darla to avoid fighting her and Skinny. I then go outside and speak with Nick, who tells me to meet him at his office. I then head off to Hangman's Alley and set up water and food production so I can have some supplies for trading, but when I go to leave, I end up dying to a group of super mutants while leaving the settlement. Luckily, I had just saved, so this time I head out of the settlement and throw some grenades to obliterate this group of super mutants. Luckily, they had managed to kill a Diamond City security guard, so I take his armor, which is a big upgrade. I then head over to the Colonial Tap House in Diamond City, where I watch a pathetic man get absolutely clocked by this bar owner who also happens to be his wife's paramour. Afterwards, the pathetic man leaves and I buy a drink for the drunk wife. I then speak with the bar owner for a while before leaving the bar and finding the pathetic man near Power Noodles. He wants to hire me to help him get the barkeep to stop screwing his wife. I tell him I'll help him, but he needs to pay me in advance. He then gives me all of his caps, and I tell him I'll go talk to the barkeep alone. I then go confront the bartender, and I convince him to stop messing around with the wife, and he offers a solution to everyone's problems. This intrigues me, so I listen to his plan, which involves killing a rich dude's son and some drug dealers at a meeting down by the river so we can steal all of his caps and the drugs. I agree to help him, and on the way out of Diamond City, I convince the pathetic man to join me and the bartender in this killing spree. When we've almost reached the river, I realize I can speak with the pathetic man again, and I tell him the bartender won't bother him or his wife anymore, which prompts him to give me yet more caps. I then kill all of the drug dealers and the rich kid with a few grenades before speaking with the leader of the drug dealers. She tells me of a bunch of ghouls running a chem lab, and I say I'll let her live, but then the bartender kills her anyway. I then have this crazy, clumsy accident where I drop a live grenade at the feet of my accomplices. This very unfortunate and unavoidable accident left them with no pulse, but did leave me a lot heavier in the pocket as far as caps is concerned, and gave me a new business opportunity selling all the chems to Diamond City. With that, I head over to Diamond City and start a drug epidemic as I sell all of the drugs, clearing out all of the caps from every vendor. I also stock up on a ton of grenades from Arturo and the baseball vendor before deciding to head over to Nick's office and get interviewed by Nick, and after answering all of his questions, he suggests we go to Kellogg's house, so I quickly head over to the mayor's office and push a Diamond City guard through some double doors before lockpicking the secretary's desk and stealing the key to the house. I then head over to the house, find a button that opens a hidden room filled with guns, booze, and cigars, before letting Dogmeat sniff one of the cigars to track Kellogg. I then make my way out to Fort Hagen, where I start my siege by getting these sick long-range Molotovs on some of the roof turrets. I then sneak my way onto the roof to kill the last few turrets before heading down into the garage where I sleep and make my way into Fort Hagen. Once inside, I continue my siege and it starts off pretty well before quickly falling apart. I kill a couple of turrets and synths, but then end up blowing myself up with a Molotov. Oh, also, it's probably too late to stop people from commenting about it, but I do want to mention that I don't have the armorer perk or the strength required to get it, so I cannot modify my armor to absorb explosive damage. Either way, I continue battling through the human wannabes and automated security, blowing them up one at a time with my deadly arsenal of explosives and fire until I die again. This time I end up dying to an ambush where a synth closes the distance and traps me in the kitchen. I try using a Molotov only for the Molotov to kill me instead of the synth. Well, you know what they say, misery loves company, and I can't die to my own Molotov once in this dungeon. No, I have to do it twice, as this collision mesh on the roof of this tunnel is just slightly wonky, causing my Molotov to burn me up like a moth to the flame. With one more self-inflicted fatality under my belt, I managed to make my way all the way to Kellogg, and I really don't want to mess around with him. I lay down a ton of landmines and then throw a grenade at him to start the fight. I then run away and listen to the mines blow up one by one as he steps on them. I then almost mess up this wonderful plan as I try and run back to find Kellogg, only for him to pop out from a room behind me and get a shot off before he ends his own life by stepping on a mine. I then go rooting around his innards, stealing a part of his brain and all of his cybernetics, and after all is said and done, the synths lay broken and burned, and I open the doors to the elevator and right up to the surface to watch a new challenger approach from the roof of Fort Hagen. I then make my way over to Nick's office, only to realize that I forgot to read Kellogg's diary. So I reload an earlier save, and this time make sure to read Kellogg's terminal before returning to Nick's office, where I have a really long conversation with Piper and Nick, where it's decided we should head over to the memory den and see if Dr. Amari can let us see some of Kellogg's memories using the piece of brain I took off him earlier. So I go and do just that, listening to Dr. Amari talk about brain science before forcing me to run through Kellogg's life story until we learn that the Institute uses teleportation and that one of their scientists recently went rogue and is hiding in the glowing sea. I then head off and jump in the river before swimming towards the glowing sea for 5 minutes. I make landfall and then head over to this cabin where I always save because there's a really convenient bed here at the edge of the glowing sea. Along the way to the cabin though, I find a perfectly good sleeping bag in a safe cargo container, but it doesn't count as a bed and this makes me sad. If any modders out there want to make my day, turn this sleeping bag into an actual sleeping bag for me. That'd be a really cool Christmas gift. Either way, I reach the cabin and die after a long and difficult engagement with a handful of super mutants. This was sad as it meant I had to swim across the Commonwealth again, but I do it, and this time the cabins just have some Brotherhood thugs so I can sleep in peace before venturing into the glowing sea. Earlier in the run I bought a hazmat suit for this, so it shouldn't be too bad. I stealthily sneak my way through the entirety of the glowing sea without a single enemy noticing me, and then use landmines and grenades to slowly whittle down the Deathclaw outside of Virgil's cave. After it dies, I make my way into Virgil's cave, where I speak with the super mutant for a really long time, and it's eventually revealed that I need a courser chip, and that to get one, I need to kill a courser. So I head out of the cave and back towards Boston, only to die to a bunch of Budbloogs. After mentally recovering from all the time I just lost, I do all of that again, and this time I manage to just walk out of the glowing sea without any major issue. I also encounter this strange bug where a bunch of Brotherhood members show up as hostile in vats, but are friendly outside of it, so that was weird. Either way, ignoring the bipolar Brotherhood members, I swim over to Green Tech Genetics, where I start fighting through the gunners inside. The fighting is intense, and I find it really fun and interesting the way I have to arc grenades into rooms, especially when I can't see the enemies I'm trying to kill. It's really cool, and I want to give it a bit more screen time, so here's a montage of the explosions and a few of my deaths.
Barricade stairwells and hallways if you haven't already. What? You're dead! Fucking low! You're dead! Gunner down!
With the courser down, I decide to make my way over to the Cambridge police station in order to join the Brotherhood of Steel so I can get vertibird grenades. I go speak with Dance, who inducts me into the Brotherhood of Steel as an initiate before we ride a vertibird all the way across the Commonwealth to the Pridwin where we dock. I then watch Elder Maxon give a pep talk to 6 Brotherhood members and talk with him for a while before heading around the Pridwin, meeting with the ship's doctor, Proctor Tegan in the armory, Proctor Ingram in the power armor bay, and Proctor Quinlan in his study. I then do some trading and head out to the flight deck to speak with Elder Maxon, who tells me to go kill a bunch of super mutants at Fort Strong. So I head down to the airport and swim over towards Fort Strong, where Dance and I start ripping through the infestation of big green ugly guys, and the outside goes relatively smoothly. Grenades deal with the normal super mutants without too much issue, and then the behemoth steps on some mines and eats grenades for a while as he tries to kill Dance. Eventually, I kill off all of the enemies outside and start struggling my way through the inside of Fort Strong. It's harder to fight in these close quarter areas, and I'm quickly running out of grenades as I slowly but surely murder these mutants until eventually I run out of grenades and end up dying to a mutant with a missile launcher. As I approach Fort Strong again, someone in my chat points out that I can actually tell Dance to stop following me, which I thought I couldn't do. So I dismiss him and take on the fort alone, and I start by trying to clear the outside by myself, only to end up dying to the behemoth when he throws a rock at me. I try again, and this time things go a lot better. I managed to kill all of the normal mutants off without much issue before taking on the big boy, who I managed to cheese to death. I hide in the water and use the nearby cliffs to block his projectiles while lobbing Molotovs at him constantly. This was a really effective way to kill off the behemoth, but it ate through most of my reserves of grenades, so instead of taking on the inside of Fort Strong right now, I instead head to a nearby bed to save before heading into Boston and doing some trading for more grenades. Once I've restocked, I come back to Fort Strong to find the super mutants outside have respawned, and they kill me pretty easily. I got stumped here for a little bit, but then realized that the quest log says I've already cleared the outside. So I decide to avoid all of the super mutants outside by swimming over to the Fort Hagen Armory building and climbing up this cliff to enter it. Once inside, I end up dying a few more times to the overwhelming numbers of super mutants inside, but I eventually get this attempt where I kill off most of the super mutants in the first area by using landmines, before riding the elevator down to unleash hell on the remaining super mutants with grenades of various flavors. Once they all lay unmoving on the ground as it should be, I speak with Dance before returning to the Pridwin, where I'm given vertibird signal grenades, which are soon going to prove their worth, but first I have to head over to the Old North Church and kill some ghouls before using a decoder ring and speaking with the leader of the railroad, Desdemona. After telling her I have a courser chip, we go to a man named Tinker Tom who decodes it for us. I then head outside and summon a vertibird using one of these signal grenades and travel all the way to Virgil's cave in the glowing sea. It's here where I speak with him for a really long time, and he gives me the plans for the signal interceptor. I leave the cave and conjure up another vertibird to ride back to the Pridwin, where I tell Maxon of the signal interceptor plans, and he tells me to speak with Ingram about building the device. I do just that, and after a convenient jump cut, here we are with the signal interceptor complete, and after skipping past all of the annoying dialogue with Ingram and Maxon, I get teleported into the Institute, where I sit through some more annoying dialogue with everyone and their sister inside the Institute. Once I manage to drag myself away from all of these boring conversations, I run through the advanced systems and the SRB sections of the Institute to grab all of the synth relay grenades I can find, which gives me a total of 13. It's not many, so I'll have to use them sparingly, but they should be the strongest tool in my arsenal. I then go speak with Father, who tells me about a very naughty runaway synth. And like Santa from Futurama, I'm gonna have to cross him off my list. So I head out to Libertalia and valiantly kill a turret and fight some raiders before eating a mini nuke. I know they say these things are an important part of every balanced breakfast, but they just go right through me. Alright, I'll stop with the bad jokes and let you know right now that I die a lot of times to this filthy fat man maniac until eventually I find a way to use delicious cheddar cheese to fell his evil ways. After that, I head up to the roof of Libertalia and tell the synth raider to take a nap while dropping some presents at the feet of his friends. After spreading so much holiday cheer, I feel the need to head back to the Institute, where I speak with Father, who gives me a new apartment and tells me to go bring back some runaway synths hiding out at Bunker Hill with the railroad. Instead of running right over to Bunker Hill, I make a little detour over to the Pridwin, where I warn Maxon about the Institute's pending assault on Bunker Hill. I've never actually done this quest in this exact way before, but I'm curious what will happen if I warn the Brotherhood and then turn against them. Either way, I head over to speak with the Courser right after he kills a super mutant, and I convince him to give me more synth relay grenades, bringing the total up to 16 before we start storming Bunker Hill. Since I told the Brotherhood about the attack, they aren't hostiles, so this is honestly a cakewalk. I die one time to an exploding truck, but other than that, I just walk around looting those who die until I reach the underground section of Bunker Hill. Once underneath Bunker Hill, I wait for the railroad to kill off all of the Brotherhood members and synths before taking them on myself. I get some sick grenade throws, killing off the railroad one by one. Overall, the combat wasn't difficult, and I only really struggled with one railroad heavy who kept dodging my grenades, but eventually he falls, and I recover all of the synths for the Institute before heading over to the CIT ruins, where I climb up the stairs to the roof and have a long conversation with Father, where he has this old man monologue about never going outside like a NEET in his 60s. Either way, after he finally touches grass, I teleport with him back to the Institute and attend the director's meeting where Father reveals that he's dying and he wants to take me with him as he's sending me to fight the Brotherhood at Mass Fusion. I then speak with Allie, who will be joining me on this suicide mission. She tells me to go up to the relay room where I get teleported to the roof of the Mass Fusion building and immediately start throwing out a few of the synth relay grenades I've been stockpiling. Honestly, the grenades are pretty underwhelming and I'm disappointed by just how little these synths managed to do. Maybe it was because I didn't use enough of them, but I'm trying to use them sparingly, and the few synths I spawned just got absolutely murked by the Brotherhood here on the roof. So I take matters into my own hands by switching to frag grenades and nearly immediately have one get shot and explode right as I throw it, and the explosion kills me. This starts a frustrating exercise in futility where I repeatedly teleport to Mass Fusion and get a little bit further each time before dying. My next attempt ends in me getting killed by Allie as she became hostile with me after walking on top of one of my grenades. After that, I managed to clear the roof of Mass Fusion by using more synth grenades and taking it a bit slower before eating one too many lasers in the elevator ride down. On the next attempt, I managed to ride the elevator down to the point where the Brotherhood blows up the power, and I even managed to kill off all of the Brotherhood here only to die to a poorly thrown grenade that traps me in a room and kills me. On the next attempt, I get this really clever kill on the Brotherhood Knight by throwing landmines off the elevator during the ride down, and when he lands, I throw a frag grenade that blows up all the mines, killing him. I then clear the room and get the power on again before riding the elevator down to the ground floor, where I get absolutely blasted into next century by two Brotherhood members in the lobby. I go through all of that again before making my way to the reactor room, where I start off by activating and killing both Protectrons before talking with Allie, who says that Rad-X won't be enough in the reactor chamber. I then strip down naked and take a ton of Rad-X to prove a point to her as I run through the reactor room in my underwear and grab the agitator before leaving the chamber and starting my battle with the robots. It starts off with a legendary sentry bot that I managed to take down with a ton of grenades, but unfortunately end up dying to its death explosion despite hiding behind a wall. With that, I go at it one more time, and this time I managed to fight through all of the Brotherhood and make my way to the reactor room, where I steal the agitator before killing the sentry bot without dying this time. And then I have this butt-clenching moment with two Assaultrons as we have an extended fight, but through the clever use of Allie and landmines, I managed to kill them both before sprinting through the lobby of Mass Fusion to escape the hellhole that is this dungeon. I then return to the Institute and give the agitator over to Allie before heading off to speak with Father, who has yet another task for me to handle because the Institute is like a toddler that can't handle the slightest inconvenience. I head over to this house near Grey Garden where the Gunners have some Institute scientists trapped, and I lure the Gunners over to the Mr. Handy robots at Grey Garden and they start fighting each other. About halfway through the battle, the robots turn on me, so I have to run away and hide until they kill the Gunners and forget about me so I can enter the house and verbally abuse the scientist for a bit.
I guess I'll have to.
I then return to the Institute and talk with Father, who praises me before making me give a speech to the Commonwealth. He gave me notes on what to say, but I decided to just give the most evil speech I could. Unfortunately, this speech was useless because the radio in Diamond City is on its last legs. So I head over to the newfangled high-tech Radio Shack and... I just realized I wrote Radio Shack in my script and called it High Tech, and I forgot that there was a store chain called Radio Shack. Oh, that wasn't even a joke, but I'm going with it now. I head over to the Radio Shack and pick up a Walkman so I can listen to Guns N' Roses while on the bus. Okay, yeah, this joke has gone on too long. I'm not even old enough to have had a Walkman. Well, I don't know how to get back to script, so I'm just gonna say, hey Cortana, play Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Now that the 3 people using Cortana have been pranked, where were we? Oh yeah, I fixed the radio station in Diamond City, and now I'm back in the Institute's Advanced Systems Division, where I make my way to their new reactor and turn it on as Father gives a speech to like 5 people. It seems like this should have been a much bigger event, but I guess the rest of the Institute is busy complaining about the surface or playing D&D or something. I'm really not sure. Either way, he tells me to go to the director's meeting, but that sounds boring, so instead I head over to the Bioscience Division because I heard there's a rebellion going on in there. I find that the main section of Bioscience is locked down, and there's a man named Newton Oberly there who explains that 2 of the scientists here are protesting me being named as Father's successor. They've taken control of the Institute's food supply to try and keep me from becoming their director. Newton manages to open up a side path that I can use to reach and speak with the Rogue Institute members. I have to kill off a couple of synths and turrets, which is a bit dicey as I was caught off guard by the first synth, but in the end, they all fall before me, and I speak with the scientists and manage to convince them to give me a chance. They lift the lockdown, and I make my way out of Bioscience and tell Newton that if this ever happens again, he will be punished, and I also tell him to put the 2 Institute scientists on probation for their crimes. I then head towards the director's meeting, but along the way I meet this douche canoe named Isaac who wants me to give his seed to some dude named Roger. I remind him who he's talking to for being so rude.
Don't patronize me, pencil neck.
I meant no offense, just, well, let's move on.
And then agree to take his seeds to the farm before attending the director's meeting, where it's agreed that we need to take down the Brotherhood. I then speak with Father, who tells me to go single-handedly kill the railroad, so, you know, I guess I have my work cut out for me. I decide to go swim out to the Old North Church, and while I swim, you should consider liking and subscribing. Only about 10% of you are subscribed, and it really helps the channel out. Now here we are at the Old North Church, where I make my way into the railroad's headquarters and start off the fight by throwing all of my remaining synth relay grenades before switching to frag grenades. I expected this fight to be kind of difficult, but thanks to the confined spaces and the fact that Glory glitched out and stopped firing her minigun, I managed to kill off all of the railroad members before heading outside to swim further south towards Warwick Homestead to drop off those seeds. When I do, I find out that the synth that replaced Roger Warwick thinks his foreman is planning to kill him. So I do a bit of investigating around and find out that Cedric? What? I've never heard of that name before. Well, Cedric ran off to Good Neighbor to hire some goons to help kill Roger, so I have to go track him down. I teleport back to the Institute and turn in the quest for killing the railroad before teleporting back out and making my way over to Good Neighbor, where I find Cedric and convince him to tell me what he knows. It turns out that he took the caps given to him and decided to keep them instead of hiring a goon. I then swim all the way back down to Warwick Homestead to find out the foreman is holding Roger at gunpoint. I managed to talk him out of fighting by telling him he's being controlled by his fear, and then he has a mental breakdown and leaves as I get rewarded by Roger. I then teleport back to the Institute and report to Isaac, who makes me want to put a grenade in his pocket, but I think better of it and head to Advanced Systems instead so I can hear about the attack plan for taking on the Brotherhood. The plan is for me to teleport onto the outskirts of Boston Airport and make my way into the airport itself so I can destroy some generators that are preventing them from teleporting synths into attack. This plan is just horrible, and because of that, I struggle for a few hours assaulting the Brotherhood, and I don't think anyone wants to hear me describe myself dying over and over, so instead of that, enjoy this sick montage.
Transfer. Please defend this position.
So, in the end, I managed to destroy all of the generators and protect the synth, infecting Liberty Prime with a virus before teleporting away with a courser and watching the Pridwin go down in flames. I then teleport back to the Institute and speak with Father while answering the question, can I beat Fallout 4 with only grenades? Yes, yes I can. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting a new challenge suggestion. I'd like to thank my Patreons and channel members as their support has been tremendous. If you liked this video, I think you'd like my first challenge run where I try and beat Fallout 4 with only pipe weapons. You all are beautiful, and this is Willow, signing off.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.